Thank you, Representative Biggs. And now the representative from California, Mr. Whitesides.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today and spending your time to try to educate a bunch of congresspeople about these important issues. In my district, the importance of chemical research and development is visible every day. It's visible in our aerospace and defense manufacturing facilities, in our water treatment plants, and everything from wildfire retardant to rocket propellant. Many of my constituents in the Antelope Valley, I represent the district on the north side of LA County, who work in advanced manufacturing rely on chemical innovation for the materials and components that make modern aerospace and defense systems possible. They care about staying competitive globally, but they also care about transparency, safety, and whether regulatory decisions are based in sound science. It's good to hear bipartisan support for strengthening U.S. chemical research and development, but I think we all know that we must do so in a way that is both predictable for innovators and credible to the public. I grew up in a chemistry household, and I'm grateful for everything that chemistry has produced for humanity. Just one example, today we feed billions of people through the chemical process that creates nitrogen fertilizer. But when an administration is launching full-scale attacks on American science, health, and oversight, trust is inevitably damaged, and any type of reform effort, well-meaning or not, can become stuck. So the first question I have is, Dr. Myberg, can you discuss the role of transparency and independent scientific review in maintaining public trust in chemical innovation, and what happens when that trust breaks down?
Well, Congressman, thank you again very much for that question. And to me, this is where I'm basically channeling Bill Ruckelshaus, that transparency is absolutely essential. This is one of those kind of situations where you really do have to show your work. Scientists, legitimate scientists, can and often do disagree about what is significant about a particular set of facts. For example, the types of, on most of these chemicals, you, for obvious reasons, can't do human studies on what the impacts of these chemicals will be, and so you have to extrapolate from animal studies or other kinds of work. And it is certainly the case that these judgments do involve certain value judgments about risk. For example, if you have a lowest observed effect level in an animal study, what does that mean about human studies? How much more conservative should you be? Is it 10? Is it 30? Is it 100? Different scientists have different views on what the level of uncertainty should be, and some of it's based on how much data you have, how much data you don't have, and what you think might be you could extrapolate from the information you have. So it's very important to have a systematic process where that is openly and transparently reviewed, so that you can have confidence that when the administrator has to make the decision they have to make about is a particular chemical use safe, they are basing it on the best available information that's been pretty thoroughly scrutinized before he or she has to make that choice.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question to that for you as well. In my district, we've dealt with wildfires, landfill toxic events, and other environmental health emergencies. How important is supporting EPA's independent science capacity, not just for regulation, but for responding to real-world incidents when they happen?
Again, that's a great question, and I can speak to it from both professional and personal experience, that it's essential because the emergency response people rely on the Office of Research and Development when they're coming across a situation of a chemical mixture that they haven't seen before, like a train derailment, as came up earlier, or in my case, in Winston-Salem, we had a chemical plant, or a fertilizer plant rather, that caught on fire, that had 600 tons of ammonium nitrate in it, which was, to say the least, alarming. And we relied very much on ORD in doing assessment of the monitoring results in support of the emergency response people who deployed to make monitoring measurements about how bad the pollution was from that fire. Now, fortunately for us, the fire chief made the right decision, pulled people back from the incident, and let the fire burn itself out, so it did not create an explosion as it had in West Texas in 2012. But that data, that scientific information, the expertise that we had to be able to make those assessments was critical in the kind of work that you had to do, and I suspect was also true in the fires in Los Angeles, although I didn't follow that response in depth. But in the fires in Los Angeles, you have the same question. Lots of things being burned all at once, and trying to assess and give credible information on what the risk from those exposures could be.
Thank you. With our Chiquita Canyon landfill, which is an ongoing health catastrophe in our district, we have seen EPA play a useful role. And my primary comment is that we need EPA to be more active in responding to this environmental emergency that we have. to understand the impact of airborne pollutants and other chemicals that are off-gassing from the landfill. And my hope is that the EPA can do more to help the people who need help. I think going the opposite direction with staffing cuts is the wrong direction. I yield back. Thank you.